step one, bring awareness to that. That's where she's spending her time. The framework that you'll hear me do a lot is agree, lead. Okay, so that's what the cool thing about is, we're not expected to always be perfect. We're expected to be excellent. And excellent means that we're devoted to being better, and we're devoted to improving, and we're devoted to trying our best. But we're not ever expected to be perfect, because it's impossible to be perfect. And then the rest of the time, the other 99% of the time, you need to focus on these results producing activities, which is, following up with your customers and practicing your script. Coaching framework. This is not exactly the specific, let me say this. This is the big chunk. So I'm going to kind of give you the big chunk idea of how to coach someone. The more kind of hows will fall in the next course. This is the what. So think of this as like the what and the why, and then but the how will come in the follow-up course. But you do need to kind of understand the container of this first. So okay, so let's kind of work. Let's work this together. Okay, so this is called the change model, the unleashing process, and you can see here. I want everyone to kind of follow along on your handout as Fernando and I are working this together. So if you see the change model, it has awareness, origin, purge, strategy, and then circle of gratitude. And so what I want to do is I just want to kind of work through this together. So give me a salesperson. You can just, if you want, you can tell me the first name. Don't tell me the whole name. Just tell me the first name, and then what is something they're currently struggling with. And I'm going to kind of walk you through this model together. And what would you say is Pam's struggle right now? Like, what is the struggle that Pam's having? Okay, got it. And what's interesting is where so she's worried about like the external things in the sense of the model needs to be prettier, or getting more bandit signs, more signage, making things look prettier. So it sounds like she's worried about the marketing piece more than the sales piece. Yeah, so she's just focused on outward, she's focused on outward things that God, what's the word I'm looking for? She's focused on tension relieving activities, not results producing activities. Okay, so I was like, what is that word? Okay, so tension relieving versus results producing, and so step one is we have to get her to bring awareness to that. That's where she's spending her time. Okay, so that's important that we need to do that. What we want to do too is we want to help her realize the origin story of why is she doing these things. So why do you think, I'm going to go back to that example I asked earlier, what do you think, sorry, what was her first name again? Pam. Okay, I'm sorry, down. So Pam's good. So Pam, what do you think, if you were to ask her, maybe you don't know her well enough yet, but it's okay, so you can ask her this, is that if she was to define herself based on a value of like, how does she want to be seen by you or her peers or again, general manager, whomever, her customer, like how would she want to be defined by them? What would you say? So you're saying though that, so she wants to, you think that her highest value is that she wants to be seen as respected or knowledgeable? Okay, got it. Cool. And just as a side note for everyone is whenever you have a salesperson that really tries hard to project themselves, that like, I know what I'm doing, I just need to be left alone. I want you to be curious around that. In my experience, whenever they project that, they have impostor syndrome. So like their number one fear is that they actually really don't know what they're doing, and they're afraid that they're going to be figured out. And so they use that as kind of a projection escape of like, I just need to be left alone. You just got to trust me. I know what I'm doing. Like that's kind of that. So we want to belief bust that, and we want to make them vulnerable, and we want them to be okay. Well, we want to kin them with kindness, but we also want them to know that like what they know is limited and what they don't know is limitless, which is a Tom Brady quote. We want them to live by the more I learn about selling, the more I realize how very little I know about selling. And honestly, the best way to break that belief, guys, is for you to lead by vulnerability, and for you to even kind of be vulnerable and say, like, if someone was it to me, I would say, wow, that's so interesting, because I've been doing this now for 20 plus years, and man, I don't know everything about selling. That's crazy. Like I feel like I learn something new, really every day. Like it's amazing how many times I could look back at my sales processes and go, man, I really botched that one. I can't believe I missed that, like that's, really like you feel like you've already arrived. No, I guess I'm still learning stuff. Yeah. Isn't that awesome? We're always learning. Like we're always learning. We're always getting better. That's what the cool thing about is, we're not expected to always be perfect. We're expected to be excellent, and excellent means that we're devoted to being better, and we're devoted to improving, and we're devoted to trying our best. But we're not ever expected to be perfect, because it's impossible to be perfect consistently. Because the things are always changing, and we got to always kind of learn and grow. Anyway, okay, so that's kind of side tangent. But so going back to this chart here, and again, feel free to help me continue on this. Is that so? First, we have to help her realize that she's focused on tension relieving activities versus results producing, and we have to understand that she wants to be seen as knowledgeable. Okay, and we have to get her, if we can, we have to get her to tell us the origin story around this. So it doesn't need to take very long, but I would just ask a question, Fernando. I would just say something like, and again, the framework that you'll hear me do a lot is agree, lead. Okay, so what does that mean? It means so I'm going to agree with them. I'm going to say, look, I think it's important. I think it's important that you should make sure your models look good, and you should make sure that your product is nice and that the homes are staged. And I think that's great. I think that's a great thing to do. And it's also great because obviously first impressions are really important to be able to do that. With that said, we just want to, so now we go to origin. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I would say, I'm curious, where did you learn that, right? Where did you learn the importance of making sure that like things need to look good and need to be staged correctly, and you need to put time into those kind of areas. And so I want her to tell me where she learned it. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And maybe she learned it from her past, I don't know, realtor boss or whatever. Right. So I need to learn that. Okay. So she's going to tell me that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best at this moment to disrupt the pattern. Okay. So I'm going to disrupt the pattern, and that's going to start this purge process. And I'm going to say something like, again, I agree with what you're doing. And it sounds like your boss told you a lot of great things to do, that when it comes to, keeping your models looking nice and so forth. But what I want to be careful about is that we don't spend too much time doing that where it's like overkill, and this is just me talking out loud. I would say something like there's a concept in life called minimum effective dose. And that means that water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And so if you turn on the energy on the boiler more than 212 degrees, it's like you're wasting energy, and I would say, Pam, does that make sense? Like once water boils at 212 degrees, you don't need it doesn't boil more. Like you can't make it boil more. It doesn't work. Right. And so what we need to figure out, Pam, is how much is like just enough? Like what's just enough of the minimum effective dose when it comes to making sure your models look good and spending time on that. And what would be like the minimum that would matter to get like the 80-20 rule, like that would get you the majority of the way there, but you don't need to spend more time doing that. So you could spend more time doing results producing activities. And anyway, so I'm going to kind of set that up for her, and I'm going to try to lead her to kind of get some conflict. And the reason why you're hearing me saying this is because I'm trying to like provoke her a little bit. And by provoking her, she's going to start probably getting not defensive, but she'll probably start defending or explaining why she believes it's so important. Okay. And so I'm going to let her purge. That's actually an important step here. So I'm going to actually let her vent. Okay. So Tony Robbins, if you've ever been to any of his sessions before, he would say that in relationships between a husband and a wife, you need to master the vent. I thought that was always a great line. So, you can't in the relationship, if you're arguing with someone, right, you can't just go in there and be like, calm down. Doesn't work. That's like, doesn't work. So instead you have to just like, let them vent, and you let them vent, you let them get it off your chest and let them kind of express, and they purge it. And when they purge it, it actually gives them room to think things differently. So so that purging approach is, tell me more about that. And I could see why you would see that way. And I could see why that would make sense. And, I get that. And then what you're doing here is you're going to try to reframe them, and you're going to say, are you interested in seeing things differently? Okay. So at this moment, I'm going to question, are you interested in seeing things differently? And hopefully at that moment, if I've got her to have awareness of what she's currently doing and how what she's currently doing is not getting the results that she's desiring, if I get her a chance to tell the origin story of why she learned what she learned, and she has to be grateful for it. Like what got her here got her here. It's just what got her here won't get her there. And so she has to be grateful of that she learned it from a boss and it was successful at one time. It's brought her success. And so I want to be grateful for that. Okay. So I want to agree. I agree with what your boss said. I agree that you should do marketing. I agree that you should make sure things look pretty, but so I'm going to lead her. But would you also agree that maybe too much of that is overkill, and that you're getting to a point of tension relieving activities versus results producing? And then now that's going to instigate her conflict. And without conflict, there is no change, Fernando. So I need her at this moment to argue with me. Okay. And she will. She'll argue, and just fine, totally fine. I'm expecting her to arguing. I'm looking for a fight right now. Okay. So she's going to fight. She's going to kind of like, I don't know. I think it's important. I guess I can do that. Tell me more. I'm going to get her to get all that off her chest. And then I'm going to say, well, are you willing to see things differently? And then hopefully at that moment, she'll say yes. If she says no, then we haven't purged enough. Okay. So I'm going to say, oh, well, tell me more about that. Okay. So hopefully she'll say yes. And then at that moment, I'm going to give her a new strategy, which is let's come up with the right ratio of okay, well, how many hours, right? How many hours a week can you spend doing this tension relieving stuff in the beginning of the work week to get it all right? And then you want to set it, and then you want to forget it. So we want to kind of agree together that this is the minimum effective dose that we need to do what you're asking them to do. And then the rest of the time, the other 99% of the time, you need to focus on these results producing activities, which is, following up with your customers and practicing your script and et cetera, et cetera.